Thank you for that introduction, Susan, and thank you, Tim, and everyone else for the organisation of this excellent event. I hadn't realised just how hot it would be today. The sun was out and I walked along from Vauxhall to get here. But when I get here, I find that, in fact, even in the world of corporate venturing, there's a lot of dating going on, and I hope you're going to swipe right for each other when you use the new platform today. It is a great pleasure to be here, and to be here in London, which is Europe's capital of venture capital. I'm proud of London and of the UK's record as a venture capital hub. Last year, the UK tech sector received £3 billion in VC investment. And I'm proud because what you do matters for our economy. In the long run, how rich a country we are depends on how productive we are. Our productivity, in turn, depends on our innovation. Innovative technology and, from dating apps to other things, innovative ways of working. Our innovation depends on startups. It's the disruptors and the inventors who have a disproportionate effect here. And our startups depend on the people in this room. Too many people think that finance is a dirty word. Well, I say to those people, finance is the fuel of an advanced economy. And our startups need the high-performance stuff. People with the guts to take calculated risks and the vision to see what the economy could look like, not just what it looks like now. Too many people think capitalism is a dirty word, but it's delivered unparalleled prosperity. World life expectancy is now over 7 years longer than it was just in 1990. I can't imagine any government aid program, even one as generous as ours, making that kind of difference. And you can't have capitalism without capital. Your capital can create the innovators of the future. And those innovators will bring jobs, bring more consumer choice, and make advances that change people's lives. So what can we, the government, do to get more of you? And what can we do together to get more venture capital investment and get more international investment here in the UK? As I said, we are Europe's home of venture capital, but we know where our weaknesses are, and we are seeking to address them. That means working with you. It's not the government's job to tell you how to do yours. That's why it's so important for us to hear from you and hear the barriers you face. My job would be impossible without that. And it means focusing on where government adds value. So what is the government doing? Well, our exam question is how we further the UK's international leadership in venture capital investment in high-growth companies. So that immediately suggests three ways of looking at it: the international question, a venture capital question, and a high-growth company question. We can see it as a question about high-growth companies. How do we set the right background conditions so British companies are a more attractive investment for you, especially the innovators that drive VC investment? That's where our industrial strategy comes in, boosting productivity across the country, investing billions more in infrastructure and STEM skills. As part of that, we committed to raising the UK's R&D spending to 3% of GDP, putting us into the top quartile of OECD countries. And last month, we published an artificial intelligence sector deal, up to £950 million of investment and unlocking data, the fuel of AI. We can see it as a venture capital question. The government's patient capital review, which received around 100 responses from investors and VCs, identified that we did have a strong market, but one lacking critical mass in some areas. So in last November's budget, the Chancellor launched a 10-year action plan to unlock £20 billion of patient capital, including a new £2.5 billion investment fund to be incubated in the British Business Bank. Tax changes to the Enterprise Investment Scheme and venture capital trusts, and £1 billion of international investment brought here through the Department for International Trade. And then turning to that international question, encouraging trade and investment are real priorities for this government. For the first time ever, we have a Department of State whose only role is to focus on the economic international competitiveness of the UK, promoting exports, promoting inward investment, and tackling trade barriers globally. That means a seat at the cabinet table so that whenever the government thinks policy, it thinks trade and investment. And inward investment is a key part of that. The media often portrays my department, the Department for International Trade, as a purely Brexit-related department. But there was a unit specifically dedicated to international venture capital for 3 years before the referendum, which now works with more than 250 VC investors. And that's on top of a network of local trade advisors in 108 countries around the world. This month, Liam Fox, my boss, the Secretary of State, launched UK Invest, a programme to promote £30 billion of UK investment opportunities. And UK Export Finance, itself nearly 100 years old, can now provide up to £50 billion of support in more than 60 currencies. Despite the name, that's to help companies from abroad investing here just as much as getting British companies investing abroad. So that's what we're doing, because we want to cement the UK's position as Europe's #1 VC hub. Of course, we've got weaknesses, and we want to work with you to fix those. But I don't want that to take away from just how strong our position is. There's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, that person clearly wasn't a venture capitalist. There's always room for improvement, and we should always be striving to improve. That's what VC is all about, seeing the opportunity that others have missed. It's what business is all about. As has been said, I set up my first business at the end of my first year at university when I was supposed to be starting to introduce myself to the study of law. I produced not the first What's On guide ever in Cambridge, and it certainly won't be the last. But I made my own gap in the market. That's how innovation works. That's how you set out building a business. And the UK has made its own gap in the market too. If we didn't have a European VC hub now, we'd have to try and invent one. The UK is the #1 destination for foreign direct investment in Europe, with £1.2 trillion invested here. According to PitchBrook data, last year UK tech firms attracted more than twice as much VC funding as France and Germany combined. London alone got 3.5 times more than the whole of Germany. And that's been increasing. It was up more than 80% on the year before. And there's a good reason for that. Britain has natural strengths in this area. Strength in technology, one of the world's strongest science bases, independently ranked 3rd in the world for academic citations. Strength in finance, the world's largest financial centre alongside New York, speaking the world's language. And a government that supports business. That's why the World Bank ranks us as 7th in the world for ease of doing business. Those strengths aren't going away. In fact, if we apply ourselves, we can extend our lead. With your help, we will remain Europe's natural home of venture capital, and that's going to mean more jobs and more innovations that change people's lives for the better, because that's why we do what we do. Thank you.